Hare Krishna. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And all glories to the participants here today in the Prabhupada Disciples Association readings and discussions based on the original unedited books of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. We run a 3-class program every week. On Wednesdays, we study the Chaitanya Charitamrita. On Saturday mornings, we have a Bhagavad Gita discussion, reading and discussion. And on Sunday mornings, the wonderful, amazing reading of the original 1962 version of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Now, someone would say, well, there's so many sort of grammatical errors in this particular edition. It's funny, when I joined the mission back in the early 70s, it was, these were the only books that we had in the Hamilton Temple here in Ontario, Canada. And they were extremely enlivening for all of us to have these original books in their unedited form. There was an authenticity to them. There was a clarity in the explanations that was very, very attractive to all of us. Because really the essence of truth is found in the association of a pure devotee. And in Krishna Consciousness, the process is based on finding a bona fide spiritual master. This is the crux of the matter. If you have a bona fide source, then you have an opportunity to become enlightened, and you become happy in life because of your opportunity to travel through this human form of life successfully, and at the end, leave this body of bile, pus, mucus, and stool, to leave it behind and transcend back home, back to Godhead, in association with your spiritual master. In our case, it is with the grace of our spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, that this opportunity is available to us and to everyone that wishes to accept him as the guide to this ship which is crossing over the ocean of material existence. This is the essence of our philosophy. And we want to reassure everyone that if you take up this process with us and stay focused on Śrīla Prabhupāda's Vani incarnation, his presence in transcendental sound, then you'll be successful in this human form of life, guaranteed. And this is a rare opportunity because there is so much confusion in the modern world, so much chaos. The Kali Yuga is progressing at such a high level these days because of so many illicit activities that people are totally confused. They're completely in Maya, illusion. And that does not produce any happiness, and especially the human beings. The human beings of all the species of life are the most vicious. They will do anything for sense gratification, to killing, to maiming, to exploiting, anything and everything just for their personal satisfaction. And this is absolutely unfortunate. And the society that we live in demonstrates it every day to us. If you just look at the news and you hear all the reports of what's going on, this is all a result of the demoniac mentality of the people that exist here. So we're fighting this war against this illusion, this Maya, with Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting about the personality of Godhead through the lips of the pure devotee A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And moving forward, here we are. We're, as you know, all of us, and some of you are coming early enough to get this class, section of the class. Our membership, they come according to their convenience. So this is a opening section leading up to our primary part of the discussion, which is the presentation of the philosophy by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, who made a trek this week up to a distant place from his house with a broken foot. What a soldier. And such a inspiring devotee. I have one friend here at the ashram. He says to me, Yaśodā, he goes, I just want to have the lectures of Yaśodā-nandana to listen to, period. I don't want any of the other sections. I said, okay, that's all right. Well, how do I do that? I said, well, you can just take the needle there on your screen and move it forward to his section. So we're very happy to have developed this program of weekly sadhana with all of you, and let's keep moving forward and propagate this opportunity to other people as much as possible, if they're interested. Here we have Friday, April 1st, 1966. So Prabhupada is, he's been in America now since September 19th, 1965. So we're at April 1st, 1966. He's just starting to get some momentum after getting his typewriter and his recorder stolen from where he was staying. That was a critical part of his evolution, because it started to motivate other people to do things to try to help him spread the Krishna Consciousness movement. Sunrise, 5:42 a.m. Sunset, 6:27 p.m. Moonset, 4:09 a.m. So it's Dwadasi. One Mr. Pop came to see me. He saw the books, took one copy of the first part, and paid $6. In the evening, the meeting was experimentally held at Paul's Place, 94 Bowery Place. The attendance was 4 only. Mr. Green paid only $5. Income book and contribution was $11. And Prabhupada took the bus and subway, and it cost him 30 cents. I passed the night at Paul's Place. It was nice. This was the first program held at 94 Bowery. James Green, later Jagannath Das, one of the original members of the Institute for God Consciousness, signed up on February 23rd. See Chapter 4 on Memorandum. Saturday, April 2nd. Sunrise, 5:40 a.m., sunset, 6:28 p.m., moonset, 4:41 a.m. Treyodashi, I came back from Paul's loft to Dr. Mishra's apartment, took meals, came to my apartment, received one letter from Govinda Maharaj. Expenditure was 15 cents. What a cheap transportation cost, huh? Went with Yolanda and Cynthia to Ananda Ashram, passed the night and held kirtan. It was appreciated. On Sunday, April 3rd, sunrise 5:38 a.m., sunset 6:30 p.m., moonset 5:08 a.m. Chaturdasi from Ananda Ashram came back to New York, passed night at my apartment. Dr. Mishra gave me a tape recorder, which is not working. There was no expenditures and no income. Monday, April 4th, 1966. The days are flying by, just like our life. Flying by. Sunrise, 5:36 a.m., sunset, 6:31 p.m., moonrise, 5:46. Purnima. Today I went to see Mr. Bogart, his publisher, Mr. Lawton, interested in publishing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Mr. Bogart offered me a typewriter and tape recorder. I took them. Typewriter was nice and the tape recorder defective. Today I have replied to the letter of State Department regarding visit to the President. Then I came to Paul's place. Today there was a meeting in Kirtan, Hari Katha, no income, and expenditure was 30 cents. Tuesday, April 5th, 1966. Look at that beautiful picture of Prabhupada. He has just a regular shirt on. Western shirt, that is. Sunrise 5:34 a.m., sunset 6:34, moonrise 7:01. Pratipad. The whole day I was at Paul's place. He is a nice boy. I prepared paratha. He was pleased to have it. He is anxious to follow the principles of Vaishnavism. I shall help him to my best. In the evening we held kirtan together. He is hopeful. No income and no expenditure. So he has a kirtan with this Paul fellow who I believe became crazy eventually, and Prabhupada had to disassociate himself from him. Wednesday, April 6th. Sunrise 5:32 a.m., sunset 6:33 p.m., moonrise 8:19 p.m. Dvicha. Today I took meals at Dr. Mishra's place. He is not happy that I'm gradually shifting to Paul's place. Today received one letter from the Library of Congress, Washington. It is good news. The Library of Congress card number. And the expenditure, he says, is 15 cents. Paul purchased for me one packet of carbon paper, 100 sheets, $2.50. At evening, there was a meeting, Green absent. There were 7 boys and girls. All attended the meeting carefully. Some of them brought rice, atta, and fruits. There was no collection, and expenditure was 15 cents. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda and his mission to spread Krishna consciousness in a very humble, determined fashion back in 1966. Let's move forward with the program and have the chanting of the bhajan, Jaya Radha Madhava, and then the discussion, reading and discussion with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspat Paramahansa Parivrajaga-ācārya Sattara Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai Nāma-ācārya Śrī Haridas Thakur ki jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsādhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai Śrī Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Girivardhan ki jai Vrindavan Dham ki jai Navadvip Dham ki jai Ganga Mai ki jai Jamuna Mai ki jai Guru Dwarka Dham ki jai Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai All glories to the Assembly All glories to the Assembly Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Śrīla Prabhupāda. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Nara-Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridyanta Stoya Badrani Vidunoti Suritsatam
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshu vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Tadarajastamo bhavaha kamalobhadayaschaye chetayete ranavidham stitvam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayati. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So welcome everyone to this reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We are reading from the original 1962 Delhi edition. Today we'll be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 3, text number 3 and 4. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text number 3. Yasya vayaya samsthane kalpito lokavistaraha tadve bhagavatu rupam vishuddhadvam sattvamurjitam. Yasya, whose, avayaya, bodily expansion, samastane, situated in, kalpatu, is imagined, tadvai, but that is, bhagavatu, of the personality of Godhead, rupam, form, vishuddham, purely, sattvam, existent, urjitam, excellence. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. It is conceived that all the universal planetary system are situated on the extensive bodily features of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence per excellence. Purport. The concept of Virata Rupa or Vishwarupa of the Supreme Absolute Truth is specially meant for the neophyte materialist who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the personality of Godhead. To them, a form means something of this material world, and as such an opposite conception of the Absolute is necessary for them in the beginning to concentrate their mind in the power extension of the Lord. As stated above, the Lord extends his potency in the form of Mahatattva, which includes all material ingredients. The extension of power by the Lord and the Lord himself personally are one in one sense, but at the same time, the Mahatattva is different also from the Lord. Therefore, the potency of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. The conception of the Virata Rupa, especially for impersonalists, is thus non-different from the eternal form of the Lord. This eternal form of the Lord exists prior to the creation of the Mahatattva, and is stressed here that the eternal form of the Lord is per excellence spiritual or transcendental to the modes of material nature. The very same transcendental form of the Lord is manifested by his internal potency, and the formation of his multifarious manifestation of incarnations are always of the same transcendental quality, without any touch of the Mahatattva. Text number 4. Pashyanti adaha adabra chakshusha sahasrapadu bhujanana adbhutam sahasramurna shravana akshinasikam Sahasramorya ambarakundala ullasat Pashyanti. See, Adaha, the form of the Purusha, Adabra, perfect, Chakshusha, by the eyes, Sahasrapada, thousands of legs, Uru, thighs, Bhujanana, hands and faces, Adbhutam, wonderful, Sahasra, thousands of, Murda, heads, Shravana, ears, Akshi, eyes, Nasikam, noses, Sahasra, thousands, Mulya, garlands, Ambara, dress, Kundala, earring, Ullasat, all glowing. Translation. The devotees with their perfect eyes do see the transcendental form of the Purusha, who have thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and nose. They are decorated with thousands of helmets, dressed in garlands and glowing earrings. Purport. With our present materialized senses, we cannot perceive anything about the transcendental Lord. Our present senses are to be rectified by the process of devotional service, when the Lord becomes himself revealed to us. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the transcendental Lord can be perceived only by pure devotional service. So it is confirmed in the Vedas that devotional service only can lead one to the side of the Lord, and devotional service only can show him. In the Brahma Samhita, also it is said that the Lord is always visible to the devotees whose eyes have been anointed with the tinge of devotional service. So we have to take information of the transcendental form of the Lord from persons who have actually seen him in perfect eyes smeared with devotional service. In the material world, also, we do not always see things in our own eyes, but we perceive it through the experience of them who have actually seen or done things. If that is the process for experiencing a mundane object, it is more perfectly applicable in the matters transcendental. So with patience and perseverance only, we can realize the transcendental subject matter regarding the absolute truth and its different forms. He is formless to the neophytes, but he is in transcendental form for the expert servitor. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful and humble obeisances unto my spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupāda, who has opened my eyes, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaham Śrīmad-Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very interesting section of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It is also described, the same topic, in the second canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in considerable detail, the Vishwarupa form of the Lord. Now, for those who are devotees, Vaishnava devotees, they basically are more absorbed in the transcendental eternal form of Krishna. But because we are studying every verse of the Bhagavatam, we must also be familiar with how Krishna creates the world and why is it that this Vishwarupa is described. Śrīla Prabhupada nicely explained in text number 3 at the bottom of the page 194, the extension of power by the Lord and the Lord himself personally are one in one sense. But at the same time, the Mahatattva is different also from the Lord. Therefore, the potency of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. The conception of the Virata Rupa, especially for impersonalists, is thus non-different from the eternal form of the Lord. This eternal form of the Lord exists prior to the creation of the Mahatattva, and it is stressed here that the eternal form of the Lord is per excellence spiritual, or transcendental to the modes of material nature. Now, anyone who is familiar with Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna many times has described how everything is manifested from me. I am the source of everything. I am within everything, but I am also separate. Lord Krishna has his own eternal form described in the Brahma Samhita. We see there are elaborate descriptions in the Brahma Samhita about the unique position of Lord Krishna's form. And this can only be realized by the process of bhakti. We see in the Brahma Samhita how Lord Brahma is described, saying that Vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto, that Lord Krishna's form can be very difficult to understand just by the study of the Vedas. But adurlabam atma bhakto, if one becomes a devotee, a confidential devotee, then one can understand. So the next question, how does one become a confidential devotee? That is also described in the Brahma Samhita. Prabhupada refers to that process here, that the process for those who have their eyes smeared with the love of devotion. Now, it says in the Brahma Samhita also, it is said that the Lord is always visible to the devotees whose eyes have been anointed with the tinge of devotional service. So we have to take information of the transcendental form of the Lord from persons who have actually seen him in perfect eyes, smeared with devotional service. This is in reference to the text, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santasadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaramachintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So now this is a very important verse that Śrīla Prabhupāda used to quote several times in various lectures and explanation. Several times Prabhupada would be challenged, have you seen God? Can you show me God? And Prabhupada one time replied, even if I tell you I've seen God, what will you understand? Unless you know the subject matter, unless you correctly understand who is God, even if I tell you, how will you understand? And Prabhupada quoted that verse, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena, that if you have your eyes smeared with the ointment of bhakti, then you will be able to see. Prabhupada in one lecture was explaining how in India, the ladies, they put this anjana. Anjana is some kind of a ointment under the eyes to try to beautify the eye. So the anjana of bhakti, prema anjana, this is the solution to how to see God, how to see Krishna. But for those who are non-devotees, the karmis, the yogis, the impersonalists, the atheists, it is a very difficult process because Krishna cannot be understood by mental speculation. Vedeshu durlabam. In the Katha Upanishad, it is also described how even though one may be the most intelligent person, na medhaya, medhaya means highly intelligent, that is no guarantee of being able to understand Krishna. Na bahuda shrutaya, that you have heard so many different Vedas and studied so many Vedic literatures, that is also not guaranteed. Then what is the guarantee? To see God. When God is pleased with you. Prabhupada used to often give the example in 1970 in Los Angeles. Śrīla Prabhupada was asked the question, well, how can we see Krishna? And Prabhupada's reply was, well, don't be so anxious to see Krishna, but act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you by your service. This is very similar. We were in South India in 1972 in Bangalore, and we went to see a very wealthy man. He was the biggest silk merchant in Bangalore. So we asked him, we explained to him we were collecting money for the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, and we requested him to give a donation, a sizable donation. And he said, well, Swamiji, the safe is locked. All the money is in the safe, and we are closing the shop. So, right now it is locked. I said, well, you can also unlock him. If God is everywhere, he is also in your safe. You can also unlock him. He liked that argument, and he gave a donation. When we related that story to Śrīla Prabhupāda, he says, in the future, what you should tell him, he says, yes, that is very nice, you give a donation, but you should remember that Krishna doesn't look just how much you give, but how much you're keeping for yourself. So the process of bhakti means to stop the selfishness, stop this nonsense materialistic absorption in the bodily conception of life, and to devote, to revert the attention to Krishna. We see in the prayers of Queen Kunti that she is praying that let my attraction to you be just like the waters of the Ganges, which flows naturally towards the ocean. We also see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastakam is describing Nadhanam na janam na sundarim kabitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatad bhaktirayatu kitvaye. That he is praying that birth after birth, let me have this unalloyed devotion, bhavatad bhaktirayatu kitvaye. Why is he saying that? Because in the material world, everyone is seeking. Nadhanam, everybody is looking for wealth, for beautiful women, for handsome men. Nadhanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitam, or to become a very famous poet or famous intellectual. Kavitam vajagadisha kamaye. That I don't want this. Then what do you want if you don't want all of that? And Mahaprabhu has nicely explained. Mama janmani janmanishwari, that birth after birth, simply I want to be engaged in your causeless devotional service. This is the whole subject of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. How to develop that process of bhakti. How to develop that desire to serve Krishna. There was one very nice lecture recently. Prabhupada was saying, whether you are poor or rich, or in any condition of life, you can offer Krishna a little water, some fruit, a leaf, some prayer, simple. The whole process, Krishna has made the process, patram pushpam phalam toyam, yome bhaktya prayachati. Even if one offers a very opulent feast to Krishna, Krishna is not hungry. Krishna is not hungry for palatable dishes. We see in the Mahabharata how Krishna was invited by Duryodhana, and he had prepared a very elaborate feast. But Krishna refused to accept the big feast prepared by Duryodhana. He went to Vidura, his pure devotee, and he accepted the humble offering of Krishna. There is even a story that Vidura was so excited that Krishna has come to his house, he offered him a banana. He took the peel out of the banana and gave him the peel. He was confused. And Krishna just accepted. Because Krishna looks at the devotion. One of Krishna's name in Sanskrit is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He looks at the devotion. When Śrīla Prabhupada first went to India in 1970, there was so much criticism from his godbrothers that he was allowing men and women to dance together, to live in the same house, not in the same rooms, but in the same house. So many nonsense criticism were given. And Prabhupada says, I brought these dancing white elephants to preach to the Indian people because they had never seen this before. All of these Caucasians and Westerners coming to India, chanting and dancing and preaching, requesting people to engage in the process of bhakti. When Śrīla Prabhupada first went to Surat, the entire town came to see Prabhupada. They were showering flower petals on the procession, flower petals on Śrīla Prabhupada. So much appreciation of Śrīla Prabhupada. So one of Śrīla Prabhupada's servants afterwards asked Śrīla Prabhupada, why is it, Prabhupada, that in India we see that Lord Krishna was born here, Lord Ramachandra was here, so many of the avatars, all the Ganges, the Yamuna, so many sacred rivers, so many great rishis, great sages, great personalities, great saints, acharyas. Everything is transcendental. But these people, they don't seem to take the process very seriously. Why is that? And Prabhupada's answer was because in India, most of them have been polluted by this Mayavadi philosophy. The thinking that if you worship any god, you will get the same result as worshiping Krishna. He says this is not the philosophy. This is a very deep disease, this Mayavad philosophy. That is why. So one should not subject himself, become victimized by the propaganda, by the Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Every day, we offer obeisances to Prabhupada. Namam Vishnupadaya. And in the second offering, we say, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine. That we offer our respectful obeisances to you. Gauravani Pracharine. You are preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Gaura. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. You have gone to the Western countries to preach against this Nirvishesha and Shunyavad, this impersonalism and nihilism. And we see the whole world is affected by this impersonalism. Even if you speak sometime to members of other so-called religious faiths, they have difficulty understanding God as a person. They cannot comprehend. In Bombay in December of 1972, one Indian gentleman from a Christian background came to see Prabhupada, and he had a very challenging mentality. And Prabhupada explained to him that Krishna is God. Krishna, the person Krishna, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this person started reacting, no, we cannot accept that. So Prabhupada's replies, well, if you cannot accept that, then why don't you describe who is God, what does he do, where does he live? Explain to us. No answer. Could not answer. But we see in the Brahma Samhita, it is very nicely explained. That 5th chapter of Brahma Samhita was described by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami that there is no superior scripture to the Brahma Samhita. How many times have we seen Prabhupada quoting from the Brahma Samhita? So many times. So many lectures Prabhupada has quoted. So many verses from Brahma Samhita. Because we see our previous acharyas like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. They are all quoting from this Brahma Samhita throughout their writings. And one of the favorite verses they're constantly quoting is that verse, Premanjana Churita Bhaktivedochanena, the perfect description of the process of bhakti. And immediately after that, what does the Brahma Samhita describe? Ramadi Murtishu Kalaniyamena Tishtan Nana Avataram Akarat Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That all of the different avatars, Ramadi Murtishu, Kalani, all these expansions and avatars, they're all coming from the personality of Krishna. Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo. The same principle described here in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that we will see in this 3rd chapter. Ete cha chamsala karapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That Lord Krishna, the transcendental person of Krishna, is the ultimate personality of God, the source of all incarnations. Now, these are very important verses, as we will see. This is the very important conclusion of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And this is supported by so many evidences given by Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbha. In the beginning of Brahma Samhita, in the first verse, that verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Jiva Goswami has described in considerable detail in his commentary why Krishna is the personality of God. And he quotes a very nice section of the Adi Purana, a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And Krishna is telling Arjuna about my innumerable names, Nam Nam Mukyatamam Tama, Krishnakyam Me Parantapa. Amongst my millions and millions of names, the name Krishna is the most important. So these are very important points that have been brought, and we see Prabhupada throughout his books has explained this so magnificently, so clearly, in such great detail. And it's up to us to hear this knowledge, to become familiar with the knowledge and present it to everybody. Now, if somebody says, well, I'm so busy, I've got my wife and family, I've got some children, I have to work, I've got so much responsibility, well, that's okay. You can hear. Bhaktivedanta Thakur wrote a nice song called Nadia Ghodrume Nityananda Mahajan, which is the description of Lord Nityananda's preaching method in Bengal. As everyone knows, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dispatched Nityananda Prabhu to Bengal. Say, you go spread Krishna consciousness there. And he had so many associates. So one of his favorite places was across the river from Mayapur in a place called Godrum Dweep. And there it is described that he was going there establishing a market of the holy name. And it says, Shraddhavan Janahe, all faithful people, come in here. Bholo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha. Aparad Shunya Hoy Laha Krishna Nam. That chant the name of Krishna, worship Krishna, follow Krishna's instruction, and avoid offenses. This is the essence of the teaching of Bhaktivedanta Thakur and all of our acharyas. Same thing that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Manmana bhavamad bhaktu madhyajimam namaskuru. That think of me, offer your obeisances to me, worship me, praise me. This is the essence. So many descriptions in the Shastras like that. We see in the Mahabharata, in the description of the Vishnu Sahasranam Mahatmya, the glorification of 1,008 names of Lord Vishnu. Navasudeva Bhaktanam Ashubhan Vidyate Kvachit. That if you become a devotee of Lord Vasudeva, there is no more inauspiciousness. All inauspiciousness will be clear. Janma mrityu jara vyadi bhayam nevopajayate. That the problem of birth, death, old age, and disease, that fear will be removed. Because it's a different level of protection. Just like if you buy some insurance, there's different level of insurance. You can get just very basic insurance. You can get a higher level of insurance. And if you pay enough of a premium, you can get the highest level of insurance. It's up to you. How much insurance premium, how much insurance coverage do you want? So Krishna is offering the highest coverage. What does he say in Bhagavad Gita? We've discussed this before. That you surrender unto me. Somebody says, well, if I surrender to Krishna, what's going to happen to me? What about my family? What about my responsibility? Krishna says, Ma suchaha, don't worry. I will protect you. Just like if you buy an insurance policy for your house, for your life, for your car, there's a certain degree of protection. It's not perfect, but it's something. It's a protection. It's like recently there was some relative who had some automobile accident. And the insurance company's lawyer called me and they said, look, just leave it to us. We know how to deal with this. This is a quasi-fraudulent case where there was a fender bender and they want $500,000. We see this every single day. But you are covered. your insurance policy covers. That they have their own legal department, and based upon the policy, they will cover the legal cost, the legal representation, and everything. And it was covered. But Krishna's got his own legal department, his own insurance department. One time, one devotee made a remark in 1978 that now that Prabhupada has departed, that everything is under the management of the great devotees, the great authorities. Of course, he was not very clear what great authorities he was referring to, but it's obvious that he was not referring to the Panchatattva, the six Goswamis, the previous Acharyas, and such exalted personality. We have to take shelter of these great personalities. How do we do that? By hearing. We see in the Upanishad, there's a very nice Sanskrit term, iti shushrumadhiranam. It has been thus heard from the great authorities. We see in the Mahabharata, there is a description, Mahajanoyena gatasa pantaha, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam, that the truth, the essence of transcendental religion, is guhayam. It is hidden. It is secret. It is not easy to understand. But how to understand? Mahajano yena gatasa, by following in the footsteps of the great Mahajans. Always to be eager to hear. We just, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, we keep reading these few verses from Canto 1, Chapter 2, and that verse, what is the benefit of hearing the Bhagavatam? And Sutta Goswami is describing, by regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil. And thus, loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, comes into being an irrevocable fact. This is Krishna's insurance policy. This is the result of taking shelter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We've often described the summary of Lord Chaitanya's teaching by a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya named Srinatha Chakravarti, who wrote the first commentary on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, called Chaitanya Manjusha. And Śrīla Prabhupāda used to often quote that verse describing the position of Lord Krishna, the position of Vrindavan, the exalted worshipping of the gopis, and the exalted special position of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It says, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam pramanamamalam. It is the perfect evidence, the topmost evidence. And what does it do? Prema pumartamahan. The development of prema, of love of Krishna. That is the highest attainment. And he concludes his verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam, that in my opinion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tatradarunapara, there's no higher personality than Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is Śrīla Prabhupāda's great mercy, kindness, that he has delivered that deep knowledge of Krishna consciousness in his purports, in his lectures and explanation. All we have to do is hear and take shelter of Śrīla Prabhupāda's insurance policy to lead us to the lotus feet of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that detailed explanation on today's verses in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And we'll carry on with the program with a further discussion of these matters. And first of all, I'd like to refer back to Prabhupada's purport, text number 3. I found that Yaśodā Prabhu very informative. To them, a form means something of this material world. And Prabhupada, here it is. To them, a form means something of this material world, and as such, an opposite conception of the Absolute is necessary for them in the beginning to concentrate their mind in the power of extension of the Lord. So we all look at things and based on earth, water, fire, air, ether, like that, material forms. But the transcendental form of the Lord and his transcendental existence has to be developed through association with a pure devotee. Moving forward into text 4, in the material world also, we do not always see things in our own eyes, but we perceive it through the experience of them who have actually seen or done things. So critical there is the understanding of how to get the vision. Prabhupada gives us the example further of a travel brochure. You may not have gone somewhere, but if you want to know about that place, you simply read the details in the travel brochure. And in this way, you can purchase a ticket. So in the same way, we purchase a ticket to the spiritual world, Yaśodā Prabhu, through hearing from the pure devotee, Śrīla Prabhupāda, and understanding how to perform service according to his directions, no one else. If you study his life, as we are in the beginning parts of these sessions on his preaching work, we get the realization that he was 100% surrendered to Krishna. We know that Prabhupada did leave his family at a particular point in his life to take up the preaching mission of Lord Chaitanya. And he lived in Vrindavan in a very humble situation for many, many years. And all he did was work on the mission of his guru that he had been given to preach and spread Krishna consciousness in the Western world. So if you study his life, you can see by his practical service, everyone should study carefully about his life, how he was totally devoted to Krishna and his guru. He set the perfect example. And that is the qualification of a pure devotee like Śrīla Prabhupāda. You have to judge an action by its results. So Prabhupada, Yaśodā Prabhu, he demonstrated his qualification by the results that he produced, the books that he printed and translated, and the mission of recruiting people to help him spread the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the world. And this is our business, is to establish Prabhupada amongst all of our members as the means by which we can become spiritually advanced. No other way. Prabhupada is the source of the connection to his spiritual master and to the disciplic succession going back to Krishna. He sacrificed everything through his selfless service to his guru for the benefit of others. The reading of his diary certainly reveals his selfless service, and he can reveal Krishna to all of us, but we must surrender to him, no one else. Yaśodā-nandana, please.
Thank you for that. I was going to read from a lecture which Śrīla Prabhupada gave. This was a lecture Prabhupada gave in San Francisco on March 28, 1968. San Francisco on March 28, 1968, on the same verses, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, chapter 3, text 3 and 4. Prabhupada, you read from the 3rd chapter, Upendra, concerning description of incarnations of Godhead, translation. Sutta said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first of all expended himself in the universal form of Purusha incarnation, primarily with all the ingredients of material creation. And thus at first there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was on the intention of creating the material universe. Bhagavatam 131. Purport. As it is said in the Bhagavad Gita that the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, maintains this material universes by extending as part of plenary expansions. So this Purusha form is the confirmation of the same principle. The original personality of Godhead Vasudeva, or Lord Krishna, who is famous as the song of King Vasudeva or King Nanda, the very same personality of Godhead is full with all opulences, all potency, all fames, all beauties, all knowledge, and all renunciations. Part of his opulences is manifested as impersonal Brahman, and part of his opulences is manifested as Paramatma. This Purusha feature of the same personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the original Paramatma manifestation of the Lord. There are 3 Purusha features in the matter of material creation, and this form, who is known as the Karano Dakshayi Vishnu, is the first of the 3. The others are known as the Garbo Dakshayi Vishnu and the Kshiro Dakshayi Vishnu, which we shall know one after another. Prabhupada, these Vishnu, Karano Dakshayi, Garbo Dakshayi, and Kshiro Dakshayi, these are little technical. Try to understand. Now, this universe, which you find just like a big ball, there are innumerable universes like this, and they are floating in water. That water is called causal ocean. So that causal ocean there is, I mean to say, completely in the whole ocean, big gigantic body is lying down there. That is known as Karano Dakshayi Vishnu. The Vishnu in that gigantic form is sleeping within the water of that causal ocean. And by his inhaling and exhaling, breathing, there are bubbles. And those bubbles are manifested as universes. That is stated in Brahma Samhita. Yasye kanisvasita kalamata valambhyam jivanti roma vilaja jagandhanata. Brahma Samhita 548. That breathing, exhaling, and inhaling, just like we also do that. So we have inherited that exhaling, inhaling from that Vishnu. So how these Brahmandas or universes, each of them as a predominating deity, is called Brahma, Brahmanda. The master of this Brahmanda is called Brahma. The duration of this Brahma, duration of life, is only the inhaling and the exhaling period of Mahavishnu. When he's exhaling, all the Brahmandas are coming in existence. And when he's inhaling, they're all vanquished. This process is going on, and the Supreme Person is doing this. I mean to say, creation and dissolution is called Mahavishnu. Vishnur Mahan Sayha Yasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So the reference is in the Brahma Samhita that Mahavishnu is also part and parcel of Govinda Krishna. Just try to understand what is Krishna, then go on. Upendra, the innumerable universes are generated from skin holes of this Karano Dakshayi Vishnu. And in each of the universes, the Lord enters as Garbo Dakshayi Vishnu. Prabhupada, again, after creation of the universes, he enters each and every universe. This universe is filled with water, half. What you're seeing, that is half only. And half is filled with water. In that water, Vishnu again lying, expanding. This is Vishnu's power. he can expand in innumerable identities. This is also confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Advaitam achyutam anadim ananta rupam. Brahma Samhita 5:33. Ananta means unlimited, and rupa means forms. He's expanding in unlimited number of forms. We are also expansion of his form. These jivas, the living entities, he's expanding in two ways, Svamsha and Vibhinamsha. Svamsha means Vishnu. One expansion is just directly he himself. Another expansion is separated from him. That separated from him we are. We living entities, we're also Vibhinamsha. We're also part and parcel, but we are separated. Therefore, we haven't got the full potency of God. We've got potencies of God. The 6 potencies, namely opulence, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. We have also got these in minute quantity. Whatever we see here, the richest man in the world, that is only minute particle of the richness of God. Because we are part and parcel, minute part and parcel. Therefore, we've got all the opulences in minute form. Just like water has got all the composition as the big seawater. Similarly, we've got all the qualities of God, but in minute quantity. That is the difference between God and ourselves. Or in other words, you can study God also by studying yourself. Whatever propensities you've got, that is also there in God, everything. Otherwise, where from it comes? Because I am part and parcel if I've got all these propensities naturally, in full and without any inebriety. Those things are present in God. Take, for example, our love, what you call love. Of course, it is perverted reflection of love. Several times I've repeated, in this material world, there is nothing like love. It is only everything perverted reflection of love. Just like you've got affection for children. That is there also, but that is without any inebrieties. Here also, the same men and women, male and female, there is attraction between one another. Similarly, there is also Radha Krishna, but there is no inebriety. That is full and that is perfect. Here it is imperfect due to material contamination. So in this way, Prabhupada nicely explains the position of the 3 Vishnus and the position of the living entities. Hare Krishna.
Yes, and through this reading, we get insight into the transcendental world by the grace of the pure devotee. Jonas Priya, in Hawaii, I know it's early in the morning there for you, but I wanted to ask you your comments on today's discussion.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. As always, I'm very grateful to be in the association with such nice devotees dedicated to Prabhupada's mission. I really liked Yasoda-nandana Prabhu example about the insurance. And I was thinking of Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarvadharmam Pariyanamam Aham Sarvasya Pravedyo Mahasana. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses. Anyhow, Krishna says in here, do not fear. This is the ultimate thing, because Krishna said, if you follow me, there's nothing to fear. So our insurance policy is to follow the 4 principles and to be Krishna conscious, to do sadhana bhakti. That's our payment for our insurance policy. If we chant our rounds nicely, we follow the principles associated with devotees, then the contract is valid. But if we commit a fault anywhere, if we follow 3.5 principles, then the policy is canceled. So we have to be very, very careful that we follow everything nicely, the way Prabhupada taught us. And then Krishna assures, he says, you don't have to worry. I got you. Masuchaha. So I think this is very, very important. And Yasodā-nandana Prabhu put it so nicely. So somehow or other, if one is not strong enough to follow the principles, then he has to pray from his heart to Guru and Gauranga and the Vaishnavas, please help me. And if we plead with Krishna and the devotees of the Lord, then they will help us. Bhaktivedanta Thakur was the perfect example. He used to chant his rounds, screaming on the lanai. And he said that if Maya is attacking you, then you should chant Hare Krishna loudly. So this is the process. This process is not an experimental process by any means. There's many, many graduates from this program. If we read the scriptures, that they have attained perfection to go back home, back to Godhead, or to carry on preaching on the planet as they choose. So we're not concocting something, or we're simply following. When I was in Vancouver in 1970, a famous yogi came to town. And in those years, it was very common for all the young people, the hippies, to take a guru, to go see a guru. So I went to see this guy, and they told me, yeah, come tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to have initiations, bring some money. So I was so eager that I went early. I went like half an hour early to this house. And the door was open, so I walked in, and then I could hear people, oh, this yogi supposedly, he didn't eat for 2 years, and he was like the perfect yogi. So I hear some people talking in the back room, and I dared to go in, and there's this guy claiming to be a self-realized soul by gazing at the sun. And they were drinking beer and eating pizza. So this is just the kind of cheating that was going on. And people are so innocent, or by their karma. We know that Prabhupada said that cheating disciples get cheating gurus. So that's just one example of how many cheaters are out there. And we don't need to worry about that, because we got the most amazing guru in the universe ever to come to this planet, as far as I understand, or at least in the last century. And Prabhupada told us repeatedly, you simply follow this process, do not speculate, do not try to improve my program. Simply maintain everything the way I set it up, and you're guaranteed that you will eventually get back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Very well spoken. And it's so true, Janas Priya, that Prabhupada is connected to the disciplic succession correctly. And if we follow in his path, then we will be successful. Just like if you plug a lamp into a potent socket, then the light will come on. So like that, we promote Śrīla Prabhupāda as the pure devotee, spiritual master that we're connected to. He is the bona fide source. And in this way, he can open your eyes with the torchlight of knowledge and help you to understand who you are and what is your purpose in life without question. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further comment.
This is a very interesting discussion here that Janas Priya Prabhu brought up, because we see throughout the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and other scriptures that Krishna is inviting the living entities to come to him, to surrender to him, to be devoted to him. And he explains the benefit of it. What will be the benefit? But people are so addicted to this sense enjoyment and to this deluded mentality of trying to enjoy the material world that even after repeated attempts by Krishna and his pure devotee, sometimes they cannot understand. They do not understand. Why? Because of very deep sinful activities. If one follows these principles, clears all the vikarma, so then gradually everything becomes very clear. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that those who are finished with their sinful activities, they can practically engage in devotional service. This is nicely described by Krishna himself. First, you got to finish all these sinful activities. And this is the great power of Śrīla Prabhupada. He was empowered by Śrīla Prabhupada and Krishna to bring about the process of devotional service in such a beautiful and simple way. It was super attractive. It is still super attractive if one follows it properly. Just like if you get home insurance. In California, if you get home insurance, well, there are certain conditions that the insurance company will say, well, we'll insure the property for you, but you got to make sure that you maintain the property. Don't let it go into blight or complete disrepair. In other words, if you pay the premiums and you fix the property and maintain it properly, okay, we'll cover you. But if you neglect, that may invalidate the policy. Just like if you have a car insurance policy, well, you have to pay the premium. It's not that you pay once and it's forever. You have to pay monthly or make a one-time payment for an entire year. Then you are covered. So what is that payment to Krishna? That renders service to his pure devotee. We see that we have described that conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati in the Padma Purana. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param. Of all the forms of worship, Lord Shiva tells Parvati, the worship of Vishnu is the highest. Tasmat parataram devi, but higher than that. Tadhyanam samarchanam, the worship of the devotee of Krishna. Worship of items related to Krishna, that is the highest. That is why it says in the Shastra that the person who claims to, Krishna says, the person who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee. But one who is a devotee of my devotee is my real devotee. That was the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalayor Dasa 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 Anudasaha. Very important point. I'm wondering if Puranjan's there on the call, maybe he'd like to make a comment or something. Haribo? Puranjan? Yes? No?
Hello, Haribo.
Haribo? Just
Haribo,
wonder
can
if
you
you'd
hear
like
me?
to make a comment.
Oh, well, yeah, I've been having an interesting kind of debate with some of the Gaudiya Math people, the Sridhar Maharaj people, Narayan Maharaj people, about the origin of the jiva. And I just made a little video about that. I mean, that's one of the topics. There's many issues that I have with them, but it's very important for us to understand, I believe, our original state. And our original state, Prabhupada says, is we are with Krishna and we are serving Krishna. So I'm just analyzing one of their, a lecture by Narayan Maharaj, where he's saying the GBC made this idea that we originated with Krishna. This was never Prabhupada's idea. But actually, Prabhupada made Back to Godhead magazine way before there was a GBC. So we are originally in Krishna's Leela or sport, Prabhupada says, in one of 5 different rasas or relationships. And that is our original state. Now we can change that. We can go Prabhupada says you can have you can be a flower, you can be a bird, you can be a gopi, whatever service you desire, you can do that. So that's the power of the soul originally. So we have to remember our original condition. I believe that's very important. If we think we originated in Brahman or not with Krishna, then it will be more difficult to re-attain or reattach ourselves to our natural original condition. That's the natural original condition of the soul, is to be free of material desires and to only desire to serve Krishna and be with Krishna. So we have to control our desires. It's all about controlling the desires of the living entity. The original state of the living entity, he desires only to love and serve Krishna, and we just have to reattach ourselves to that state. But anyway, so what I explained was what they're really saying is something very similar to the Christian idea. The Christians, like I grew up as a Christian, and the Christians believe that there's angels in heaven with God who are always with God. There's the angels in heaven. They're stuck there. They never leave there. But there's a second class soul, which we are, who is not with God. Originally, we're somewhere else. Of course, the Christians believe we just start here. We have one life here, and we start. So that is unfortunate. That means, and Prabhupada was asked about that. Why do we see these Gaudiya Math people complaining about Back to Godhead? They were complaining about the title of his magazine, Back to Godhead. And Prabhupada says, my godbrothers do not know we were once with Krishna because they are tinged with Mayavada. So it's very important that we have to eliminate all this Mayavada from our own consciousness. And Prabhupada says Mayavada ultimately means enviousness. That's the root of the Mayavada. So the Mayavadas are still envious, and that means they can't admit that they are the cause of their fall down. They're blaming God. Well, God didn't put me as an angel, so, or God did this, or God divided himself up into particles, and that fallen particles, and I'm one of them. God did this. I didn't do this. So that's envy. We have to understand. No, we are the cause of our own fall down by our own willpower. We willed ourselves to be separate. So that's all. I've just been working on that and thinking a lot about that aspect of, Prabhupada made the title of his magazine Back to Godhead. So, that's how he wanted everything to flow from that point.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And by the way, everyone, as we wind up today's session, I wanted to remind you that we are working on the Hare Krishna magazine, which is a vehicle for us to present the philosophy of Krishna consciousness to the public based on Prabhupada's original instructions to all of us. And this will become a very potent tool for preaching to other people, which is part of this Sankirtan mission that all of you and all of us together are part of. We are circles of influence in our different areas of the world, and we want to help provide tools for you to be able to preach effectively to other people about the principles of Krishna consciousness according to Prabhupada's teachings. Anandabhaya, I see that you're in Prabhupada Village. You're looking forward. What is it? You're looking forward to, what is it? What did you write there?
I'm looking forward to the initiations that are going to happen online next Sunday with you guys.
Yaśodā, what's the timing for that?
Okay, the timing will be Sunday, July 2nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And the reason for that is that Bhaktivedanta and his good wife in India in Bangalore, at that time in Bangalore, it's going to be the Purnima or Vyasa Purnima, Guru Purnima, and the disappearance day of Sanatan Goswami. Very auspicious day. So their time will be in India. I don't know exactly what time, somewhere around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And one devotee in Montreal named Bhakta Michael will also be initiated on that day. So it's going to be a very auspicious, and we will explain the meaning of the initiation. What does it mean to accept Prabhupada as spiritual master? What is the meaning of initiation, and various discussions. But there will be no question asked in the ceremony, but we will have in the beginning a kirtan. We'll install the sacred kalasha, sacred water pot. We'll have the fire sacrifice also. So it's going to be very, very blissful. We invite everybody to participate, and we'll be sending an invitation, a larger invitation, later on in the week. So we invite everybody to come and participate.
Excellent. So we're looking forward to that, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, under your expert guidance and execution of this fire sacrifice. I also wanted to remind everyone that we are broadcasting our classes, our readings and discussions publicly. So everyone that is on the call, remember you're being videoed. So however you're acting in front of the camera is being recorded for future reference by thousands of people. So be conscious of that. Everyone on this call, be conscious of the fact that you're being recorded by this group, and whatever you're doing is being exposed to the public that's watching it in the future. So thank you very much, everyone, for being a part of today's program. It has been a blissful experience again, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday for Chaitanya Charitamrita class at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and the United States. And you can take a reference from that on what time it will be for you and plan your schedule accordingly to be a part of this transcendental program that we are conducting. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda, all glories to the Prabhupada disciples in this association. Haribol.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha
Bacha,
patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for this meeting. Very good. I like it.
thank you, Aprakrita, in Montreal.
Thank you, sir.
General